What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So this video is going to actually be a voiceover because I guess I forgot to turn on my audio when I was recording. But nonetheless, this is Tesla full self-driving version 12.5.1 during the daytime. So right now it pretty much just gets to the stop sign. It stops and it checks to see if there's anyone coming from the left. And from what I remember, there was enough time for the Tesla to make that move, and it made that turn very smooth, and it picked up really quick. Actually, it's much easier when I'm pretty much just talking throughout the car ride rather than this voiceover. This is the first time doing something like this, watching the footage and doing a voiceover. But when I brought this footage into Final Cut Pro, I realized I didn't record the audio, which was kind of a bummer. But here we go. It's in full self-driving. Its max speed limit set at 35. I think at one point I do change that up to like 40. And with this version 12.5.1, it gets rid of that steering wheel nagging thing where you have to kind of play with the steering wheel, and it uses the inside cabin camera to detect the driver and if they're paying attention to the road. And at points of the video, you'll notice on the big screen that it'll say, please pay attention to the road. Everything else about this car ride, at least, is super smooth. I actually put in the destination to Costco. So we have about a 15-ish minute drive, and you're going to see a little bit ahead why it went on a detour for about an extra 2 minutes, and you're going to see why it does that. So this version is much smoother than its previous versions, and I haven't used 12.4. The last one I used before this was 12.3.6, I believe. That one was good, but it had its flaws. This one is much better. Still has its flaws, but it is so much better, and I felt so much more comfortable while the car just drove me to Costco. It makes better decisions when stopping and turning. Its turns are more smooth. It picks up much smoother. It just is an overall a much smoother drive. It looks like I'm at 34, even though I put in my speed limit to 42 max, and it slows down fairly well because of the car in front, which I do like. It maintains this distance between the car in front of you. So it passed that green light without any problem, and it looks like it's speeding back up. Yeah, this is really, really difficult to voice over, but hopefully I get the hang of it with future videos as well. Now, if you're interested in getting Tesla 12.5.1, whether that's a monthly or one time, I'd recommend it. I really would. I picked up the monthly, and I would definitely recommend it. So it gave that signal. It made a really smooth ride. I drove this morning, so I remember exactly how it was. And if you notice on screen, it said, please pay attention to the road. Now here, normally it's supposed to switch to left lane so it can make a left exit, because ahead the roads are going to divide into two separate exits. So it should have turned left already, but now it decides to give left signal, it turns it off and turns it back on. And it slows down too, which I didn't really like. And now, instead of slowing down even more, it's still going 54 miles while it's making that turn. That was a really tight turn. And if you notice, I bring down the speed limit just a little bit because it makes a really tight turn. If I was the driver driving it, I would not be going 52 miles. And here, let's see, it merges in pretty well. It's not too bad, but again, this is a tight turn. I wouldn't recommend going 49, given like I'm not coming out of that other exit where the other cars are coming from. Like, I'm merging into there, and it literally switched into the left lane on its own. Now, I know you can't see my other hand, but if you notice right on the screen, there's that blue little circle in the top left of the screen. Actually, you can see my hands. I'm kind of making some motions there. It Tesla's full self-driving is turned on. The only thing I'm doing is just changing the speed limit with the scroll wheel, with the right scroll wheel. So right now it's pretty much at 63 miles, which is great. And then continuing on, looks like we're going 62 miles per hour, sitting in the very left lane. I don't know why, but it just decided to sit in the left lane. And at some points, it's going to switch back into the middle lane and then switch into the left lane again. It does some weird things. I can't clarify its justification of switching lanes. Like, there was no need. You'll see it in a little bit. There's really no need to switch into like the left lane after you switch back into the center. By the way, I'm drinking my green tea. I usually drink some green tea before I go to bed. And actually, this is one of the things that I bought from Costco. I bought some green tea. So it makes sure that there's no one on its right when it's going to switch lanes. And if there is someone there in a blind spot, obviously it's not going to merge. It's going to just turn off its signal and keep going straight. Right now it's set at 65 miles, which is great. I like it. And see right here, it's switching back to the left. I don't know why it's switching to the left, because there's already enough space between the car in front and the center lane. So that kind of caught me off guard, and I can vividly remember me saying the same thing. Why is it switching to the left lane? And now I see why. It's going to pass the car in the center. And the one thing I did notice is, like, as a driver with full self-driving, this version on, if I look at the screen, like the main infotainment screen, and I'm watching the speed limit, and I'm watching the screen, or I look to my left or right, it quickly says, please pay attention to the road. And if you keep getting a bunch of warnings, Tesla's going to give you a strike, and after 5 strikes, it pretty much kicks you out of the system. Now, if you notice, when it gives a signal, it gives that right little, or that ready little kind of color on the side of the camera to show, hey, in your blind spot there is a car, so I'm waiting to move forward so I can switch lanes. Now, you don't want to get 5 strikes. Once you get 5 strikes, Tesla pretty much kicks you out of their full self-driving program and says, hey, it don't matter if you're going to pay $100 a month or $200 a month, whatever it is, or pay full, you're not going to use this. Now it's switching back to the left. Here, there was no need to switch back. And you can see from my hand motion, there was literally no need to switch back to the left lane whatsoever. But it decides to do that, so oh well, be it. And because of that, you've got I think that's a Volkswagen Atlas passing you. But this car ride so far has been very smooth. Very smooth, absolutely great. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, this voiceover is much more difficult than I had originally anticipated. Who knew? Who knew that this voiceover would be? Because I'm just trying to fill in what I probably would have said in the car ride. I guess it's easier when I'm talking in the car. You get to see it like first hands on, I guess. I don't know. But it switches right, and ahead there's some construction, so they have lane closure, but the exit is open right after. However, it's a steep exit because of that lane closure. And watch what it does here. Watch what it does here. It's supposed to switch to that right, and it does, and turns it, look at that. So it's supposed to switch to the right, which it does, but the exit is right after, and you see me scrolling with the scroll wheel. I bring down the speed limit so I can turn right, but it doesn't see that as an exit. Look, it missed that exit. It said exit open, and it missed it, and it tried turning, but it was too late. It was too late. So it quickly turns right, or I won't even say quickly. Look, it's still hesitant. It turns into the next exit, which also breaks down into 2 more exits. So I don't know why it switched to the very right, because you gotta stay on the left. Yeah, now it's, look, it waited for that car to pass. Now it's switching back to the left. So I don't know why it did that. And actually, yeah, I don't know why it did that in the first place. But nonetheless, like, that kind of threw it off. That was the main thing as to why it threw it off. But it still is still driving, obviously. I didn't intervene at all throughout this drive. And the speed limit at one point was saying like 55 when it was definitely not a 55. But it's driving 30 and it quickly is going to slow down. Now what I like here is at a red light, even though I'm going to turn right and it's red, it checks to see if there's oncoming cars, and there wasn't. And as I'm turning it turns green. So look at that. There we go. It picks up. See, it was still red, and then it just turned green as I was turning. But that was a smooth turn. It quickly shifts to the left because we don't want to go right there. That brings us back onto the highway. And right here, it's going to slow down just a little bit so we can turn right. And this was a really tight turn, in my opinion. I felt like we were going to hit the curb. We didn't, but it was really tight. It waits. By the time we get there and stop, it's already green. See, it picks up on its own, but you see how close it is to the curb. That's really close. It still drove smooth, but yeah, that was pretty tight. And this pretty much brought like a 2-minute detour. So we were supposed to get there like 10:26 and brought us at like 10:28. The one thing I don't like, and I actually remember what I was talking about at this point in the video, it brings you to your location, like it'll bring you to Costco, but then it'll just loop around and it just won't park or just park wherever. It doesn't really know what it does, what it needs to do at its final destination. So if it brings you to Costco, it'll just drive, but it won't park. You have to kind of disengage and then choose a parking spot, and it'll park for you. It will only park in reverse, so do keep that in mind. It is a little bit slow, but it is super accurate, and you're going to see in just a moment. And I like this because if you look at the screen, you can see how the car stops before the line, whereas other cars, like when you stop, you'll stop on the line or the crosswalk, which you shouldn't be doing. Sometimes it happens, but technically shouldn't. That's why there's a line. It picks up quickly. I remember this intersection where it did pick up quickly. And we're going to make a right turn ahead. And that's pretty much where I'm going to disengage because it made that right turn, but then it started picking up speed. So I disengage right away. And then I decided to choose my parking spot. And I think that's where I call it at the end of the video. I just end the video there. But so far, this has been a smooth ride other than the exit. And I'm only giving I want to say benefit of the doubt, but it made that mistake because usually that exit is open. But for the past maybe couple weeks, it's been like that, or at least as far as I remember, past couple weeks, it's been like that. Normally, if that was open, I assume it wouldn't have had an issue. So it probably couldn't correctly calculate that. So it does pick up quick, as you can see. Oh yeah, it's picking up quick. Quickly switches to the right lane, which is going to merge just ahead. After I make this turn, obviously, it's going to merge, so we won't be in that merging lane type of thing. So right here, it gives a signal. And it gives signal at the right time. It's not too late. It's not too early. And as you notice, it slows down on its own. At first, I was kind of scared it wouldn't, but it does. Here, I think it still says the speed limit is 55. No, it's not 55. I don't know why it still says 55. So right about here at some point, it says, please pay attention to the road. I disengaged and I took over. Obviously, there was pedestrians there too. And I kind of wanted to just park on my own. I think I let this guy walk across. Yeah. Actually, voiceover is kind of funny. And now I'm watching these people just walk across. Yeah, this guy's, come on, make up your mind. You got to walk across too. There you go. There you go. So I'm going to choose where I want to park. And usually and surprisingly, it wasn't as packed as it usually is. Well, at least when I pulled in. But by the time I left, yeah, it was getting pretty packed and there was cars starting to park next to me, and I usually I park at the very end. I'm like, you know what? Let me park at the very end. I don't want people to park next to me. And like out of all the empty spots, someone decides to park next to me. And that usually happens if you go somewhere that's like completely empty, complete empty parking lot. Someone will park next to you. So I gotta wait for these guys. Let the Jeep pull in. There we go. And as you can see ahead on the right, there is a bunch of empty parking spots. And again, like I said, someone ends up parking next to me. But if you look on the screen, I get to choose where I want to park. Now I bring it to a full stop and I choose that parking spot. So it will only back up. But if you notice and pay attention close to the screen, if you measure from one line to the other line of the parking spot, it's probably like super accurate. It's probably going to be the same length from one side of your car to one side of the line to the other side of the car to that other side of the line. There you go. I parked it. Super great. Phenomenal. Absolutely love it. Again, this has its flaws, but for the most part, it did a phenomenal job. I think at this point, I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm probably wrapping up the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Definitely be sure to stay tuned and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.